You ever had your whole life turned upside down by a phone call at 4 in the damn morning? No. I'm serious. Picture this. You're dead asleep, wrapped in the kind of mountain silence you only get a mile above the nearest neighbor, dreaming about nothing. And then that phone doesn't just wake you up. It grabs you by the throat. That's how it started for me. That's how one call put me face to face with the most twisted federal conspiracy I'd ever even heard of. I shot upright, heart pounding like there was a bear in the room. Grabbed the receiver with my rescue instincts on full autopilot. Liam Hargraves. I croaked, not even sure I was awake yet. On the other end? Ice. Cold. Clipped. And sharp as a switchblade. This is Karen Weldon, president of the Summit Crest Homeowners Association. I need you to bring me the keys to your gate. Right now? Yeah. At 3:50 a.m. For a split second, I wondered if I was dreaming. Or maybe having a stroke. Excuse me? I said, still blinking. She didn't miss a beat. This is an emergency safety inspection. The HOAs had reports of suspicious activity. We require immediate access to your property. That's when I just about lost it. 15 years living up here. Never heard a peep from these HOA types. Me place is a mile above their resort community, with a whole chunk of federal forest keeping our worlds apart. But here she was, barking orders, talking about emergencies, demanding my keys. I told her straight up, lady, my land isn't part of any HOA, and it's 4 in the morning. Try again during business hours. She wasn't having it. Don't you dare hang up. If you refuse, I'll send our security patrol. We'll do what's needed for the safety of our community. The threat wasn't subtle. I could practically feel her eyes glinting through the phone. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't about safety. This was a shakedown. I'd heard whispers about this new HOA president, how she was obsessed with the natural springs around the valley, talking community resources and the greater good. Well, guess who had the biggest, cleanest spring? That'd be me. Let me get this straight, I said, already pulling on my old tactical pants. You're threatening to break in because of some mystery reports? She gave me that self-righteous lecture about vagrants and drug labs and keeping the community safe. I could barely stop myself from laughing. I'd seen desperate before 12 years doing mountain rescue. You learn to spot people in over their heads. She was bluffing, hoping I'd fold. I told her, here's what's gonna happen. You hang up, go back to bed, and forget this ever happened. You show up on my land without a judge's warrant. You're going to meet an armed landowner who knows his rights. She fired back. How dare you threaten me? I'm an elected official. And I said, you're president of a housing development, not the governor. You've got zero authority here. That shut her up at least for a few seconds. Then came the real threat. Low and cold. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Mr. Hargraves. We'll be there within the hour. Click. Now, I'm not the paranoid type, but when someone tells you they're coming for you, you take it seriously. I grabbed my Remington, checked the mag, geared up fast cargo pants, boots, black fleece, radio, flashlight, night vision, camera, everything I'd ever used on an actual emergency. If Karen and her crew were dumb enough to show up, I wanted photos, evidence proof. Didn't have to wait long. 2 black SUVs, high beams slicing through the pines, big shiny HOA logos plastered on the side, parked just outside my steel gate. 6 people in high-vis vests moving around like a road crew that had taken a wrong turn. Except, highway crews don't show up at 4 in the morning with lock-picking tools. My phone buzzed a silent alarm from the gate sensor Dad installed years ago. Upgraded since. I watched from the shadows as a guy started working my lock. Cool and professional. Not some HOA volunteer. That's for sure. I snapped photos. Zoomed in. Cataloging every detail. That's when Karen climbed out of the lead SUV. Hair yanked back. Jacket that probably cost more than my monthly groceries. She started barking orders like she owned the place, pointing out where her crew should search the fence line. I radioed Dave Martinez, old friend, deputy, fellow search and rescue guy. Dave, you up? Got 6 people trying to breach my gate. One's picking the lock. Photos incoming. Need backup. His answer came quick. Jesus. Stay out of sight. I'll be there in 15. The lockpicker failed. Shook his head at Karen. She was not happy. 2 of her crew started prowling my perimeter, looking for a weak spot. Time for a little show of my own. I hit the switch on my floodlights. Suddenly, it was high noon at my gate. All 6 of them froze like deer in the headlights. I grabbed my bullhorn. Good morning. Trespassers. You're on private property. Being recorded. Law enforcement en route. Get in your vehicles and leave now. Karen wasn't rattled. She strutted right into the light, hands on her hips. This is an official HOA security inspection. Reports of vagrants. Illegal activity. We're here to investigate. I shouted back. Show me your warrant. Show me one piece of legal paperwork that says you've got any right to be here. And she actually had the gall to yell. I don't need a warrant from some hillbilly hermit. Community authority supersedes your rights. That's when I knew I'd already won. She'd just admitted to trespassing, and I had it all on tape. But Fina twist. 3rd car shows up. White sedan. Official looking. Out steps a man in a uniform, carrying a leather folder. Hands it straight to Karen. She waves it like it's the keys to the kingdom. We have official authorization for this inspection. Mr. Hargraves. Last chance to cooperate. I zoom in on the inspector, and my stomach drops. The badge. The patches, they looked almost perfect. Except, I recognized the guy. 3 years back, I worked a rescue with Inspector Thomas Riley. Except Riley had died in a car crash 18 months ago. I'd been to the funeral. Yet here was Riley, handing over paperwork with his own signature. I called out. Nice uniform. What's your badge number? Inspector? He stammered. Looked to Karen. She snapped. Open the gate, or we will. I decided to play along. Let me see that paperwork. Slide it under the gate. She did, smiling like she'd won. I walked out. Remington slung casual. Picked up the papers. The seal looked good. The language looked good. But the signature, yeah. Thomas Riley. Dead as a doornail. I held up the papers. Inspector Thomas Riley. Badge 7492. Funny thing, I worked with Riley personally. Let me call him to verify these documents. You should have seen Karen's face. The fake inspector started sweating. You can't call him. He stuttered. You're right, I said. Because Thomas Riley's been dead 18 months. Total silence until Dave's headlights crested the hill. Red and blue lights washing over the whole scene. Karen's crew tried to scatter. But Dave and his backup moved in. Cool and professional. Dave took the paperwork. Checked the signatures. This badge number belongs to a dead man, he said. Flashlight steady. Karen blustered about harassment. The greater good. And how my water should belong to the community. That's when the story finally snapped into focus. Not safety. Not vagrants. But good old-fashioned theft. She wanted my spring. She wanted it so bad she'd forged documents. Impersonated officials. Tried to break in at dawn. Her fake inspector cracked. Look. She hired us from Denver, said it was a civil dispute. We didn't know about the dead guy. Karen turned on him, shrieking about confidentiality. Dave's backup was photographing everything, calling for more units. I pointed out the surveying gear in their car water quality kits. Soil tests. The whole works. Dave cuffed Karen. You're under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, and criminal trespass. She still tried to play the victim card. This is persecution. I'm trying to protect the community from a dangerous hermit. I couldn't help but laugh. Karen, you just tried to rob a man at gunpoint. The only danger here is you. You'd think that'd be the end, right? Not even close. Turns out, Karen was the tip of the iceberg. Within hours, the FBI rolled up my driveway. Agent Maria Martinez and her team. They'd been tracking a multi-state ring of fraudulent property seizures. And Karen's office was ground zero. Stacks of forged documents. Plans for dozens of properties. A whole operation called Mountain Sweep. Developers. Local officials. Even judges, everybody getting a cut. What really twisted my gut were the elimination strategies in Karen's files. Surveillance on every property owner. Profiles. Notes on vulnerabilities. Even records about accidental deaths, people who'd stood up to her and wound up dead. When Marcus Webb, the fake inspector, realized what he was mixed up in. He started talking fast. He told the FBI Karen had been planning to target me for years. She knew everything. My dad's death date, my habits, my daily routines. She'd been watching with binoculars, ready to move if intimidation didn't work. If I'd caved, she'd have faked a legal dispute, forged violations, anything to steal the spring and the land my father spent a lifetime protecting. And it didn't stop with Karen. Corrupt county judge, building inspector, even the assessor feed, all been paid off. The developers behind it all wanted to turn the whole valley into a luxury resort for rich out-of-towners. My water, my woods, everything. Turns out, my little fight became the centerpiece in the biggest land grab case the Rockies had ever seen. 6 months later, I was testifying in federal court. Karen in an orange jumpsuit, looking like she'd lost her last friend. Her lawyers were sharks, but the evidence was ironclad. The prosecution laid it all out: recorded threats, forged documents, surveillance files, plans for murder disguised as accidents. Her own planner called me the cornerstone of her project. Elimination meant exactly what it sounded like. When Marcus Webb testified, the jury heard it all: how for compliant landowners, they'd just apply pressure. But for stubborn ones like me, they planned fatal accidents, damaged climbing gear, sabotaged ropes. It all came out. The verdict? Guilty on all counts. The judge handed Karen life without parole, hit her crew with years apiece, stripped the HOA of every penny and privilege. All her assets seized, paid out to victims including me. Summit Crest was shut down. Her whole empire dissolved. The look Karen gave me as they led her away, pure venom, but also defeat. You'd think the story ends there. But life's never that clean. The trial made my property famous. Journalists, filmmakers, and other people sniffing around for a shot at the springs. 2 years later, my quiet ranch looks more like Fort Knox cameras, seismic sensors, steel gates. The new sign at my gate: private mountain property. No HOA access ever. But that's not the important part. 6 months after the trial, I married Agent Martinez right here on my land. She quit the FBI, started a security firm for rural landowners. We teach people how to protect what's theirs legally, physically, and mentally. My father's land is safe. The springs still flow. And now, more folks are fighting back when the predators come. Funny, isn't it? Karen's greed was supposed to wipe my family off the map, turn my home into a playground for billionaires. Instead, she made me into a fortress, a teacher, and, hell, a husband and soon-to-be dad. Her empire became a footnote in a case about justice, greed, and just how far ordinary people can be pushed before they push back. You ever wonder where the line really is between community and tyranny? How much law is just paperwork if no one stands up for what's right? I'll tell you this: justice only happens when folks refuse to roll over and die. That's the real story here. So now, I gotta ask, if someone tried to take everything you'd ever loved, would you fight? Or would you let them tell you it's for the greater good? Let me know. Drop your own story in the comments. Where's your line? And if you've ever tangled with a power-hungry HOA, or some self-righteous bully with a badge, well, I'm all ears.